and welcome into First Things First. I'm Heidi Watney. There's Chris Broussard and Doug Gottlieb. Hello, gentlemen. Welcome in.
Good to see you.
Great to be here. I'm excited.
We got a new crew here today filling in. Everybody is off, but we are excited to be here this week because we have a ton to get to today. And the only place to start is with the new look NBA All-Star Game. That's right. That happened over the weekend. Pick it up in the untimed fourth quarter last night where the target score was 24 more than the leading team. So in this case, it's 157. The effort was there. Kyle Lowry draws the charge on Kawhi Leonard, and he wouldn't be done. Lowry taking another charge, this time on James Harden.
Kyle Lowry played at Nova, not at Duke, right? There's a lot of Duke falling down there.
He is pumped up there. Team LeBron still up 1, though. And LeBron puts him up 3 with that jam right there. Makes it 156 to 153. Remember, it's first to 157 wins it. Anthony Davis gets fouled. He's headed to the line. LeBron says it is over.
Yeah, live by the flop, die by the flop if you're Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, and he was grabbing AD's arm, too.
Right.
It was a legit foul.
AD sinks the free throw to win it for Team LeBron, 157 to 155. Kawhi is your MVP with 30 points. Chris, we're going to start with you. This new format, was it a success?
Oh, it was a rousing success. I loved it. I had lost all interest in the All-Star game. An All-Star weekend's great. You've been there. But the All-Star game hasn't been good, in my view, since 2014. And some people would go even further back than that. But this was phenomenal, and I've been watching All-Star games my whole life. I've never seen players in an All-Star game for the NBA compete this hard in the fourth quarter. And it got me thinking, when's the last time you've seen that much talent on the floor competing at that level? Now, I'm not saying the quality of play was higher than we see in the playoffs and in the finals and stuff like that, because of teamwork, camaraderie, all that. Those teams are better. But just sheer individual talent, this was phenomenal, and I think it was due to the new format. I like the fact that they went with the quarter stuff where you can win each quarter.
Yeah.
And, they did it.
It's old CBA style, right? In the CBA, which before the G League, back before it was the D League, it was the CBA, you used to get points on your standings for winning a quarter.
For winning a quarter.
Yeah.
I don't know. Look, I don't want to get into whether or not they should look at doing this in the regular season. I mean, we could talk about that another time. But I liked it because if you're getting blown out, you got new life every quarter.
Right.
And you saw it. Giannis's team got blown out in the first quarter. Then they blew out LeBron in the second quarter. Third quarter is a tie. And in the fourth quarter, they really went at it. I loved it. I thought it was a great success. And it was the best All-Star game I've seen in years.
It's the best All-Star game I've seen in years because I don't like watching. I love basketball.
Right.
I love all these players. I don't like watch because they usually give zero effort. Zero effort, especially the defensive end. And for the most part, that was this game on some
early
level.
On, yeah. The first 3 quarters.
I thought the fourth quarter was outstanding. I'd like to think some of it is the Elam ending. I also think a good portion of it is kind of honoring a little bit the legacy of Kobe Bryant. I mean, I do think that motivated. And I think, guys are fighting for supremacy, right? Giannis has the title of MVP, but it's still LeBron's league. Right. Kawhi's still the final. They're all kind of fighting for their space in the grand landscape. And we don't have KD, we don't have Steph, right? We don't have Kyrie on the floor. We don't have Clay. We're missing 4 guys who would be out there. So it wasn't maybe even the best of the best, but all things considered, it was fun. The flaw to the Elam ending is what you saw, like ending it on a free throws.
Right.
Not optimal.
If they could fix that, because I agree with you, it was outstanding the way, when I heard all of these changes, I thought, they're gimmicky, they're not going to work. But I figured, look, nothing can be worse than it had gotten.
Right, it's the All-Star game.
Yeah, and I think when the All-Star game got terrible, in my view, is when they began shooting too many threes. I tracked it. Back in 2013, they might have shot 80, 90 threes combined. And then all of a sudden in 2014, they go up to 108. Then it's up to 120-something, then 130-something. Yesterday, it was back to about a 110. It just seemed like, you're right, the first 3 quarters was typical All-Star.
There's lots of...
defense, open dunks, all that. Fourth quarter was phenomenal. Phenomenal.
I don't know. I don't understand why they can't play harder longer. I don't.
than just the fourth quarter?
Yeah. This whole idea you're going to get hurt. I
think that is in guys' mind. And
how?
When I was watching
football.
But you obviously can get hurt anyway. But I hear you, and you know how it is. When you play hard, you have really less of a chance of getting hurt than when guys are out there lollygagging and stuff like that. However, when I was watching the fourth quarter, my first thought was, this is awesome. I can't believe how hard they're going at it. My second thought was, man, I hope nobody gets hurt. And it just came to my mind. Not that it was going to happen or not that it was more probable, but that's just the hope, because you'd hate to have somebody going so hard in an All-Star game.
I can't believe Rudy Gobert didn't play more. Rudy Gobert should have played in that fourth quarter.
He played a lot early on.
Yes.
He had plenty of dunks, obviously.
If you're trying to win, you might want to play the best defensive player in the league. Just a thought.
Yeah, it might have helped.
Yeah, going hard is certainly important. But to your point about it ending on a free throw, maybe then you're putting more onus on not fouling someone if you're 1 point away from hitting that cap.
Yeah, but there's a whole strategy to it. They're like, okay, so you need 3 points to win. LeBron goes down, everybody stays home and just lets him get a dunk, because that way you still have 2 possessions. You almost feel like you should go to the old, if it's like a pickup game and you get fouled, then
you just get the ball out.
Right, or you have to win by 2, right?
You could do a win by. That
2.
might be better, because obviously in the first case you mentioned, they're just going to foul. If you get close to an open look or I'm just grabbing you.
Right, which is the bad part. There's a lot of bad parts to pick up basketball that were there last night, right? There's Kyle Lowry falling down, and you felt like he was going to grab the ball and go my way. And go stand there. There's all these different LeBron James taking a near half-court shot to try and end it, right? Anybody who's played pickup ball knows there's one guy who just wants to fire it up, just like, I'm done.
And Kawhi did it.
My wife is texting me, I got to get out of here. Let me just fire up a 3 and try. That was LeBron.
Right.
And he missed it.
Kawhi took a contested 3, maybe the possession or 2 before. But yeah, I agree. I think you can't end it. You hate to end it with a free throw.
Yes.
But what was good about it was you heard the announcer saying that Team Giannis, they couldn't foul. Because if you foul, the last few minutes, it was like they can't foul because they send them to the line. So that was good strategically, but you have to come up with something. I think, like you said, win by 2.
Anthony Davis said he purposely missed the first one to put.
Yeah, I wanted the follow-up to be, really? Are you really telling the truth? Because he looked serious. And I can't remember who it was that interviewed him. Yeah, she bought it looked like. But I wanted to really challenge him on that, because I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
I do not believe that.
You got a chance to end it, you're going to end it.
I would think so.
We talk about physical fitness a lot, but there's another side to the game that's just as important. I'm talking about mental fitness. Calm, the #1 app for sleep and meditation, has now teamed up with LeBron James to help you train your mind. LeBron and Calm know that your mind is like any other muscle in your body, and Calm can help you train your brain so you sleep better, so you have less stress, so you perform at your best. For LeBron James, sleep is an important part of his mental fitness routine. He says, getting good sleep and finding time to rest is one of the most valuable things I can do for my body and mind. And if you head to calm.com/sports40, you'll get 40% off a Calm Premium membership. With Calm, you have access to the nature scenes LeBron loves and so much more, like sleep stories and meditations. For a limited time, our listeners can join LeBron in using Calm with a 40% discount to an annual membership at calm.com/sports40. Unlock content to help you focus, ease stress, and sleep better. Get started at calm.com/sports40. That's calm.com/sports40.
Time now for drawing a blank.
Okay.
Kawhi Leonard dropped 30 points in Team LeBron's win, which earned the Claw All-Star Game MVP honors. Let's open it up to the entire weekend, Doug. The best performance during All-Star weekend was blank.
I'm going Derrick Jones Jr., okay? And here's my logic behind it. From Saturday night into Sunday into today, if we're going to talk about the dunk contest, it's going to be Aaron Gordon got robbed again. But it somehow marginalizes how amazing this guy was.
Right.
The call was for those two to split maybe the dunk contest, which I don't love either. But look, he won. And no one's saying that he's not a filthy, incredible dunker. I'll go with I'll go with Derek Jones.
I don't disagree with what you said because he is ridiculous. But I'm going with Aaron Gordon. The guy that he beat. This to me and Zach LaVine, it was the same thing with Zach LaVine.
Yeah.
Zach LaVine was incredible, but I thought Aaron Gordon should have won the contest. So this guy has, to me, 2 of the best dunk contest performances ever. Maybe 2 of the top 5.
Yeah.
And
has not won one yet.
Can I? Let me just make a statement that I think we're burying a little bit. Dunks should not all be 9s and 10s. Right? Like, some dunks are 5s. Like, if I was to give a 5,
okay.
You're like, whoa, 5, Gottlieb, you could barely dunk when you played. Like, okay, but we're judging on a different scale. These are the greatest dunkers on earth. For them, 5 is like about average.
All right.
Like, they can all do it.
I've got another
it's like
possible
we have
correction.
We've got a Russian judge over here
I'm gonna save
in
it for
Doug.
later.
No, like, we need a Simon Cowell there.
There should be something different. You're
All
right
right.
about that.
Well, now that All-Star Weekend is over, the final playoff push has begun. In the West, teams are going to battle to knock off LeBron and the Lakers. So, Broussard, the team most likely to challenge the Lakers in the West is blank.
Oh, there's no question. It's the Clippers. I think it's a 2-team race in the West. Clippers, Lakers. I think the Clippers have the edge. I think they're the favorite. But I give the Lakers a shot. But yeah, it's the Clippers. The perimeter defense is crazy. They got that tenacious dog mentality. I think they're tougher than the Lakers. I've said the Lakers are Hollywood and Beverly Hills. The Clippers are Compton and Watts. And it might matter.
Wow,
when
they went
face
Compton
each
and
other.
Watts.
I'm just
You could have gone Compton and Long Beach together, but
Yeah,
that would have been
Watts.
different.
The
Watts
OC,
is more-
Compton
Watts is
the
more-
OC.
Watts is more 70s, but okay.
Still rugged.
I would go Clippers as well. I don't think anybody would challenge that. I do think it's interesting that the perception of the Clippers in terms of toughness, and then you look at the defensive analytics, and they tell you the Lakers are actually the better defensive team. But they're on a collision course. The possible derailment outside the Clippers and Lakers are injuries to either.
Right.
But when the Clippers have the sitting Finals MVP and now the sitting All-Star Game MVP, and not just Paul George, but a culture of toughness and competitiveness, and they've beaten the Lakers every time they've seen them so far this year, the Clippers are the biggest challenger.
And they want the Lakers.
Yes.
Don't you? They like.
Yes, they want all the smoke.
They want the
They
Lakers
want
all the smoke.
more than the Lakers
All the
want them.
smoke.
All right, we're on to the East, where Giannis has led his Bucks to the best record in the Eastern League. So, Doug, the team most likely to challenge the Bucks in the East is blank.
I want to say Sixers. I want to, okay? Because in our minds, like NBA teams, biggest stars are always at the end of the playoffs, right? I think it's the Celtics, though. I think, I mean, I watched that, and maybe I'm too taken by Jason Tatum having 39 against the Clippers in the last game.
He was the best player on the court.
Right, and he's only 21 years old, but they've been close. They've been to the Eastern Conference Finals before, going back 2 years ago. I think their chemistry is better. I think their defense is better, and I think those younger guys, and like we're underselling Gordon Hayward being back. He was a legit Western Conference All-Star before he broke his leg. I think they have a better team than the 76ers, and I'm not a buyer in the postseason Raptors. I think regular season Raptors great. I'll go Celtics biggest challenge.
I was going to say, I'm not mad at you for picking the Celtics. I wouldn't have been mad at you for picking the Raptors, but I'm going with the Sixers.
Okay.
Because I do think they are the most talented team in the East. Top 7-ish.
Yes.
Most talented team in the East. Embiid and Simmons, I think, look, last year it worked to a large degree because J.J. Redick was there to spread the floor. Now you brought in Alec Burks and Glenn Robinson Jr. to spread the floor. They changed the starting lineup, took Horford out of it right before the All-Star break. I think that'll help. We'll see who they start. Will they keep Korkmaz in there as a start? He had 0 points. He was coming off 65 points in his last 2 games, had 0 as a starter. But I think if you get shooting out there and spread the floor, it can work to a large degree. I've got a lot of questions about him still.
Yes.
Because Ben Simmons, especially in the fourth quarter, you have to put him on the box to have somebody guard him. And that forces Embiid out by the 3-point line. Embiid brought that up himself. But that's a problem because now his biggest strength I can't use.
Right.
So they got some issues, but I still think they may get it together. They won 3 straight, 2 of them against Memphis and the Clippers.
Yeah.
They're great at home. They've beaten the top 4 teams in each conference at home. So they're tough at home. If they play well on the road in the second half of the season, I will begin to believe in them.
Well, speaking of the Sixers, Joel Embiid said, quote, it's going to work between him and Ben Simmons.
Well done. Okay, we're good. If JoJo says it, then it's law.
That could lead to an unlikely title run. So, Chris, we're going to go back to you. The dark horse to win the NBA Finals is...
Well, if I'm being honest, I don't think there is one. I think it's going to be one of three teams. I think it's Milwaukee, the Clippers, or the Lakers. All right, I'd be absolutely floored if, barring major injuries, if there was anybody else that won the championship. However, I'll go with, since I said Philadelphia before, I don't think they're a huge dark horse. So I would go with Toronto. I hear you don't believe in them because, who's going to lead them? Siakam, is he on that level? There's a star. But I think Nick Nurse does a terrific job.
Great coach.
And you've seen these guys up close, Doug. They play so hard. That's part of why they're being successful. Now, everybody will play that hard in the playoffs.
Right.
But I just think if I have to pick a dark horse, I'm going to go with them.
Okay. We can get in Toronto whenever you want, but let's just go dark horse. Houston Rockets.
I thought about that,
Houston
too.
Rockets. And
I'm not mad at that.
Look, everyone's trying to play small ball, and they've decided instead of having Giannis as their guy who's the non-shooter creator, they're going to have Russell Westbrook. And then they have James Harden, who's as good a one-on-one offensive basketball player as we've seen. Now, they don't have any rim protection, but they're trading 3 for 2.
Right.
And so far, it's working. And with all the size you're talking about, I know they wouldn't face Philadelphia unless it was the finals or whatever, but with all the size the Lakers have, it's really hard for Anthony Davis and even LeBron James to cover or both be on the floor at the same time, because neither are truly as comfortable covering out on the perimeter. Like, who does LeBron guard? Who's LeBron guard in that? That's why they struggle against
They
him.
will put, you got Tucker, probably AD.
Right, the AD guard's there. So who does LeBron guard? LeBron is not.
Covington, maybe.
Yeah,
But
he's just not comfortable. He likes to kind of play center field and use his brain, not use his lateral agility because it's not there as much. They're just hard to cover.
So do you give them a legitimate shot of winning the West? Or at least beat the Lakers?
The question is dark horse.
Dark horse.
Okay. That's why.
He's not saying
you,
they're gonna
you
beat
sounded very convincing.
Well, look,
like you really think they got a legit shot.
I think they're going to upset somebody in the playoffs. I think somebody, you're going to look and you're like, no way, Denver beats them. Like, okay. Jokic against Jokic against that.
And Utah, the same thing.
The style, offensively and defensively, has a chance to work just in a smaller sample size.
Moving on to MVP. As it stands, reigning MVP Giannis is the heavy favorite to repeat as MVP this season, but anything can happen down the stretch. So, Doug, the player most likely to challenge Giannis for MVP is?
Oh, I think LeBron James is the MVP of the league so far. And
really?
It's not because I'm sitting here and all of a sudden Nick has power over me.
Wow.
Nick sits there normally, but
right. We do play sports to win sports, and I get that Giannis's team has the best record, right? Okay, but the turnaround for the Lakers is incredible. We're forgetting at the last year's last regular season game, Magic Johnson resigned, surprised everybody. Yeah. Okay, coach is fired. There's thoughts LeBron might want to go elsewhere. There's all this other kind of drama going on, and now they're the best team in the West. Like, for all the little things that he's done, pumping up the ego of Anthony Davis, making them into the best defensive team in the West, I think LeBron James has been the most valuable. Giannis has been a better player. There are better players in the NBA. LeBron has been the most valuable.
LeBron's been phenomenal. There's no doubting that. But I think it's Giannis. I think Giannis is going to win it going away, at least at this point, if things continue as they have. I think LeBron is second. I mean, Luka's been hurt, and Dallas is, 6th seed, 5th seed in the West. Kawhi disqualifies himself for these awards by sitting out 20-something games, just for load management. And I see no one else to challenge. So I got LeBron second. But it's kind of, LeBron benefited from this early in his career in Cleveland. There's no second star. LeBron, you're right, they've improved tremendously, but you also added Anthony Davis. And so just like Shaq and Kobe used to do, you kind of cancel each other out because they're both so great. I think LeBron will fall victim to that. Giannis, Chris Middleton's his second star. He's really good, but he's not like a perennial, superstar type guy. So I think Giannis, with the numbers are phenomenal. The record is phenomenal. The analytics are phenomenal. And then he's got no second star helping him do it. So I think it's Giannis by a huge margin.
Long day at work, tough day at school, still stuck at the office? Treat yourself to the meal you deserve on demand from your favorite restaurant. Restaurants come to you with DoorDash. DoorDash connects you to all your favorite restaurants in your city. Ordering is easy. Just use the DoorDash app and choose what you want to eat, and your Dasher will bring it to you wherever you are. Not only is that burger place you love on DoorDash already, but over 310,000 other amazing restaurants are too. DoorDash connects you with door-to-door delivery in over 3,300 cities and all 50 states across the United States and Canada. Order from your local go-tos or choose from your favorite chains like Chipotle, Wendy's, Chick-fil-A, and the Cheesecake Factory. Right now, our listeners can get $5 off their first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter promo code FTF. That's $5 off your first order when you download the DoorDash app from the App Store and enter promo code FTF. Again, that's promo code FTF for $5 off your first order from DoorDash. Back to the show.
All right, the game was great, but we're going to rewind to Saturday night. Controversial slam dunk contest. Watch this Aaron Gordon dunk off the side of the backboard, spinning.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
Absolutely incredible. It was one of Gordon's 5 50-point slams on the night. So he obviously won, right? No, we didn't. There would be a dunk-off between Gordon and the Heat's Derrick Jones Jr. Jones take off from the free throw, well, about a foot in front of the free throw line, but, who's counting? He does the windmill, though. That's pretty good. According to the judges, though, that was just a 48. Jones not too happy about that. So Gordon needs a 49 for the win, and he already had 5 50-point dunks, right? He calls out the 7'5" Taco Fall. He's going to jump over Taco.
Kind of.
Taco doesn't look too confident in this.
Are we at least concerned for Taco Fall's neck?
Definitely.
He would have cleared, a 7 or a 6'10" guy?
Probably, but he didn't clear him. And there is a little bit
and
of a
there you go. He's a 47.
And we're kind of over the jumping over a guy.
Not a 7'5" guy. Which dunk was
that's
better?
different. That's different.
I think that one was better than Jones's last dunk.
I'll give you my thought in a second.
Okay, well, according to the reports, the plan amongst the judges was for the contest to end in a tie, but somebody made a mistake with their scoring. So here is Gordon at the end of the game.
I did 4 straight 50s, 5 straight 50s. That's over. It's a wrap, Let's go home. 4 50s in a row in an NBA dunk contest, it's over. But I don't know. Who's running the show?
He's hot. He is hot about it.
It's 2 years in a row he was robbed.
And you know what?
Right.
LeBron's sitting over there going, see, that's why I didn't get in the dunk contest, right?
Well, LeBron would not have gotten robbed.
Correct.
You know that.
Correct. I still think that's a mistake that he made.
Never being in it? Really?
Yeah, because he would, he was.
I don't, my personal view, now, maybe he would have come out and done things like Dwight Howard, remember years ago, where he did these incredible athletic feats. I don't know, though, that LeBron would have been a great dunk contest dunker.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't see the grace that you saw with... I never thought he would... Because he's a power dunker.
I got it. But, look, even if you go back and you watch Kobe 97 when he won, he was 18. Kobe's dunks weren't great.
He was great. But Kobe, Jordan, Vince Carter, they had that grace.
Yeah,
that LeBron's more of a back truck.
Flair.
Yes, that's what I think.
But LeBron early in the career, I think, was so explosive. Plus, he's LeBron.
He would have won, probably, right? Just because he's LeBron.
It's just like when
Blake wasn't
last time they were in Chicago. Last time they were in Chicago, Jordan and Dominique, Jordan won because he was Jordan.
You think?
But look, the point is this: do I think Aaron Gordon was robbed? I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure I hate the idea. Well, they planned on being Why?
Right.
Why can't
Did they say that before the dunk? Both of them dunked? Is that what they were saying?
Yeah, and then Gordon saying, well, I had all these 50s. That's the problem. All these dunks are not... 50 is supposed to be a perfect dunk.
Right.
Cannot be topped. But how can you possibly have that many dunks? He's great. I'm not trying to undersell Aaron Gordon as a dunker. And for a guy, he's a good 6'9", 6'10", to be that crazy athletic. That was... look
at these. These are pretty good.
Jumping over somebody and then twisting into there is
unbelievable.
Crazy.
Here's what I think, Doug. Remember they used to have, you could go 0.5, 8.5, 9.5. I think you just go decimals. So now I can give a no, seriously.
And then the Russian judges always.
It's not that difficult. I'm not saying go 3 points after the decimal. 8.2 because as you said it, dunks. There's just a little difference between what Derek Jones Jr. doing and what Aaron.
You have to have guys that are willing to go like, hey, that was like a 6, and people. And people go crazy like, no, you don't understand. You're one of the greatest dunkers ever. That was just a very okay. That was just kind of an average dunk compared to what I'm expecting. Like Derek Jones, we saw the 360 from the free throw line on YouTube. How come we didn't see it when we wanted to see it? Right? So do you judge on a different scale because of expectations and because of how good these guys are? It's going to take, if you really want to have like a legit dunk contest, you got to have somebody who legitimately says like, yeah, if I gave a 7 right now, Twitter would light up and say, you're just a hater, because you're a backboard slapper who can never do all that. Fine. Okay, but the fact is that at some level, you have to have some balance there. You have to have somebody willing to go like, yeah, it was really good as a 7. Like a 7? What do you mean a 7?
It's tough to give some of these great dunks a 6 or a 7. But that's why I think the decimal is perfect.
What about
there's a system or the old?
A 9.8. That was a 9.6. Because that leaves me, the difference between a 9 and a 10 is huge, right?
Yes.
So I say, that's better than a 9. But it wasn't quite a 10. I don't know if that'll be the best dunk I see all night. Yeah. So let me give it a 9.7.
You got to leave some room, right? What about having only former dunk champions to be the judges? Because they know how hard it is.
Some of them, though. I mean, we've had some bad former champions.
They don't want their. It's a hard thing. Like you're watching Common as a judge. And then you're like, they flash to Dominique Wilkins and Dr. J in the crowd. You're like, who would know more about dunking? Those two are Common. No disrespect to Common, great dude.
Right.
And great hometown guy. But the problem with having ex-players is no ex-player wants to be the guy outside of Barkley who's like, that's a 6. They just don't.
Yeah.
So you have to have a Simon Cowell on a panel. You just do. That's why that show took off.
There needs to be something.
I
think Gordon got
I hate it. It was terrible. Move on.
Back to the NFL for some more on Tom Brady. We just talked about the Raiders showing interest in TB12, but according to Mike Reese, there has been no movement in talks between Brady and the Patriots. So, Doug, do you still think Brady stays with the Pats?
I don't. And I've talked to a bunch of people in the NFL, and they've all said, I've talked to somebody close to him, and they kind of have this as, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And I do think that it's going to be really difficult for him to leave. And it's like, when you're in your 30s or 40s learning a new language. That's basically what you're doing. Either he's going to have to teach his new system to somebody else, or they're going to have to blend their system with his and his verbiage. I think it'll be really hard. But when you stop talking, we stop having conversations, that's when relationships end in real life. That's when business relationships ends as well. When I hear that the Patriots and Tom Brady aren't talking, I don't think that's a good sign. I think this relationship feels like it's over.
Yeah, look, I do think he'll be back. I mean, who knows? You're seeing all types of reports. I think there's a 70% chance. If I had to go 1 through 10, I'd say a 7 that he's back in New England. Because what's the alternative for New England? Jarrett Stidham, I mean, unless he's much better than we know. Because you look at the legendary quarterbacks who've all left. Joe Montana. Well, Steve Young was there. Peyton Manning. Well, Andrew Luck was coming in. Brett Favre. Well, Aaron Rodgers was there. I don't think Bill Belichick wants to go through a season without a quarterback that he knows can get it done unless he has to. And that's why I think ultimately the best play for both of these teams, for Brady and for the Patriots, is that he's back in New England. Look, they were 12-4 last year. I know they might not have been as good as the record. However, they beat Pittsburgh with Ben Roethlisberger. They beat Buffalo, a playoff team, twice. They beat Philadelphia. They beat Dallas. They played Tennessee closer than Baltimore did in the playoffs. So if my biggest thing, and I think Brady, everybody's talking about the money. Does he want 30+ million? He wants, I think it's more about respect, and I think it's more about getting him some weapons, because Brady knows, as is evident to all of us, at 43 years old, he can no longer carry mediocre talent. He's done that most of his career other than Randy Moss and Gronkowski. Now he can't do it. If I'm the Patriots, and I don't know if it's possible financially and all that, I would love to see. If I'm them, I'm going after A.J. Green, and I'm going after Hunter Henry, and I'm bringing back Tom Brady. And I think if you could bring in even one of those guys, Brady would take, especially A.J. Green, I think he'd take a little bit less than market value. His market value is 34. I think he'd take a little less if you're going to give me some talent.
Okay,
and we can win.
There's, like, look, if you can get A.J. Green, you can get, and you can go out and get a Hunter Henry, so you have a tight end and a wide receiver to go with an aging Edelman and some of their other players, and help N'Keal Harry figures it out in year 2.
Stays healthy.
Yeah, okay, that makes some sense. But you're mentioning basically the ego of Tom Brady. Like, hey, I want some respect here, okay? I want better players. I want a little bit better pay. I think there's a certain Bill Belichick I want some respect too, because yes, they were 12-4. Yes, they weren't as good as their record. Yes, they actually played Tennessee close, and Tennessee had to shrink the game by, running off a bunch of clock instead of punting the football because they didn't want to give it to Brady. But the truth is that what was inept about the offense wasn't just the talent, it's also Tom Brady. He is a mediocre quarterback. The definition of mediocre is average. He's an average starting quarterback now.
He was last year.
Yes, and he's not going to get better.
Well, if he gets better weapons, though. A lot of it, it's an opinion. I think a lot of his problems last year were he didn't have the weapons. And QBR and yards per game, he was better than Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, but
he didn't have a Devontae Adams or an Aaron Jones.
Part of the reason is the schedule that they played
an easier schedule.
They played a terrible division, which has helped propel them for all these years, and they played a relatively easy schedule. When they played the good teams, they did beat the Cowboys, but it wasn't because of their offense. They had double passes and trick plays and block punts. They had to cover up the fact that their offense stunk. And yes, I will agree with you. The weaponry wasn't good, right? You had 2-star wide receivers who both imploded. If you had Antonio Brown on that team, that's a good team that might win a Super Bowl. Okay, and that's not Brady's fault. On the other hand, part of the reason that they were mediocre was Tom Brady isn't, as you point out, able to carry the team. Nobody's open, but he can no longer throw guys open. And so if I'm sitting there and I'm Bill Belichick and I'm like, wait, we won 12 games last year with an average quarterback. There are other average quarterbacks from Andy Dalton to Marcus Mariota, and he has Stidham in his system. I'm not saying it's the smart move, but the ego in Belichick may be, hey, he's Tom Brady all time, but he's no longer Tom Brady. And I don't need Andy Dalton to be prime Tom Brady in order to win a championship. I just need him to be as good as Brady was last year and surround him with the supporting talent that Brady wants. If Brady's ego says, I got to go do my own thing, then I think Belichick's ego will say, fine, I can win without you.
So you're saying both of these guys have egos, so they want to see if they can do it without them.
Yes.
But isn't there something to Tom Brady? He's learning a new system. He's learning a whole new team, working with John Gruden as opposed to Bill Belichick, who's been with forever. And on the same side, Belichick now having to train a new guy. I mean, these guys have been together for so long, and they've got to be so in sync on the field that for either one of them, the breakup and having to learn a whole new system or train a whole new system, a whole new guy, it's got to be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a marriage, and you're trying to figure out if you stay together for the kids, or or you kind of go and do, and then you go and you're with somebody new, and you're like, wait, you put your toothbrush on what side? And you've been married so long, I sleep on this side, you sleep on that side. No, I do it a different way. I think that's the problem. On the other hand, it's two guys who've been really successful. They've both been told they're great. They're the greatest ever. You got the greatest coach ever. And I don't know if you know this. I mean, pretty sure you do, because you work around guys and you're married to a guy, but guys have egos. And sometimes the ego says, hey, people will say, well, Belichick's never won without Brady. Okay, I'll show you. Mm-hmm. And then Brady's like, well, you've never won outside New England. Okay, well, I'll show you. And I think at some point that may drive a wedge between them because everyone's pulling them apart. Alex Guerrero, you don't need Bill Belichick. We got TB12. We'll be fine. I think the ego could end up ruining the end of this legacy.
Look, Belichick's going to do this eventually. He's gonna get the chance to win without Tom Brady in the next 2 years from now. Maybe it's this year, but maybe it's 2 years, 3 years from now, whatever. He will continue coaching and have to win without Tom Brady. Brady doesn't have to make that adjustment. And again, we had Greg Jennings. I did Undisputed with him last week. He said, look, you never want to leave. You never want to go to a new system. When you've been in a place for 7 years, 10 years, in this case, 20 years, you don't want to have to go go and learn a new system. And it may not be pretty. As much as I like Tom Brady, as much as I think he's the GOAT, as much as I think he has left in New England if they bring him the weapons, it may not be pretty if he goes elsewhere.
It may not, but Favre left, and he got to the NFC Championship game. Okay, Joe Montana, his hero, his iconic figure,
Played well in Kansas
went to the
City.
AFC Championship game. Randall Cunningham, he with the Minnesota Vikings, they go to the NFC Championship game. So we've seen other quarterbacks do this. Peyton Manning, even on his last leg, won a Super Bowl, but before that, threw 50 touchdown passes in Denver.
He was great in Denver. They were younger, though. They were younger.
Right. So,
like,
but
at some point, like if you look at Peyton, his last year, which was horrible, even when he won the Super Bowl in Denver, 9 TDs, 17 picks.
Yep.
The year before that, he was great. 39 touchdowns, 4,700. That's what I'm saying. We don't know with Brady. It might happen in week 3 this year. He's got nothing left. And if that happens somewhere else, people are going to say, oh, it was Belichick. If it happens in New England, it was age.
Back here on First Things First, where the Astros cheating scandal continues to make news. Yesterday, Commissioner Rob Manfred discussed his thought process when deciding whether or not to strip Houston of their 2017 World Series. Take a listen.
Once you have a situation in which the 2017 World Series will always be looked at as something different, whether or not you put an asterisk or ask for the trophy back, it just, I don't think it makes that much difference. I think we did what we should do. That was, we found the facts and we were transparent about them. Once you go down that road of changing what happens on the field, I just don't know how you decide where you stop.
So, Doug, would it make any difference if the Astros were stripped of their championship to you?
Yes. I think it would have been an extremely harsh and extremely thought-provoking stance for any commissioner to take, and really, really hard to do, right? Because you got an owner who just bought into Major League Baseball, spends, $1 billion of his own money to get in on it, finally wins a World Series for the town. You're like, yeah, we're going to take that back because of a scandal that, by all accounts, you didn't know anything about. But the way in which Houston has handled it is embarrassing, especially the owner, Jim Crane. But I think that Manfred's big mistake was undervaluing that even if it's just symbolic, that's kind of what we're looking for, right? He knows to Carl Ravitch, he said he can't just take back a piece of metal, and people are focusing on that. But it is just a piece of metal, but it's symbolic. Like, you cannot continue to award a championship to somebody who got it under these means and was caught. Sorry, it doesn't mean you have to give it to the Dodgers. It doesn't mean you have to give the ALCS to the Yankees. It just means that even if you put an asterisk by it, that symbolic gesture is enough for people to go, hey, 17. That was when they were stealing signs. Because I do think without that asterisk, this eventually does go away in 4, 5, 10 years.
Do you? Look, I'm with you. I've been saying since the report came out, they should vacate the title. Don't give it to the Dodgers. I don't even think the Dodgers want it under these circumstances. But vacate the title. That's real punishment. There's 3 reasons. Number 1, this PR nightmare that baseball is having. You wouldn't be having it if you vacated the title, because people are upset because the players cheated and they've gotten away with it. They have gotten away with it. If I rob a bank and get $1 million and I get caught and I say I'm sorry, but I get to keep the $1 million, I mean, I'm okay with that.
They didn't say they're sorry.
Well, there you go, right there.
And if they're bank robbers, they would say, that's not really how I got the money. Okay, that's not really how I got the money. That's what they're saying. Look, what happened with Rob Manfred, frankly, this has happened before in professional sports. When Roger Goodell laid down a 2-game suspension to Ray Rice for domestic violence, okay, at the time, that was actually the longest suspension in the history of the NFL. Like, now we look at it like, man, what a joke, right? But we have to remember, at the time, he laid down the longest suspension ever been given to a sitting player for domestic violence. Then the video comes out, and because he didn't overpunish, then they smartly created this commissioner's exemption list, right? The NFL got smart. They're like, suspended. It's like Myles Garrett. He was suspended indefinitely, right? Suspended for 6 games, then quietly gets reinstated last week. Rob Manfred, okay, and look, he had the best of intentions. They did a thorough investigation. They were transparent. They're like, here, we've never handed down a fine like this, $5 million.
That's the maximum that
that's the maximum
agreement allows.
Which is nothing to that owner.
Again, though, but based upon what's written in the CBA, remember, when this was written in the CBA, franchises were worth, 120, 150.
I get all that.
Right now, they're worth $1 billion. So here's what I don't think he saw coming, and everyone knew that Twitter would hate it. Everyone knew that social media would say it's too soft, that you need to vacate it. But the MLBPA is one of the great unions in our country in terms of being united, right? And they're in the middle of a negotiation where they're trying to get the new CBA done. And you're seeing fellow players come out and crush the Astros like this has never happened in the history of baseball. And it didn't happen in the steroid era. They didn't call out each other during the time.
And think about
afterwards.
that, Doug, because Manfred has said the reason he didn't punish the players is because you knew you'd get a fight from the union. Well, maybe you wouldn't have, because as you said, members of the union are crushing that. I also think this, look, ultimately, if you vacate the title, we want these players to ultimately be able to move on from this. At least I do. As much as I'm against what they did, I want Altuve and Verlander and all these Bregman to eventually be able to move on if they're really sorry and are showing remorse. You could do that if you vacate the title. Because now they'll never be able to move on as long as we look at them as they got this championship that they should not have gotten. The third reason I think they should have done it is it's a deterrent. Now, there were articles where the majority of owners it was anonymous, but the majority of owners in the MLB or GM said that they thought the majority of owners in the MLB would do what the Astros did if they were going to get a title. And you live with they cheated, they're, this and that. Because as you said, maybe in 4 to 10 years, it's going to go away, but you still have that championship. College, when we look at college sports, Doug, and players get punished and get Heisman trophies taken away and things like that, it's typically for something off the field. Money from a booster, money from an agent, whatever. It's not something that affected the field of play, the game. This actually affected the game. And for Crane, the owner of the Astros, to say, I don't think it affected the game, and I can't remember which player said we won it fair and square. You didn't win it fair and square. There's no question you didn't win it fair and square. They should not have that championship. It's easy to me. Well, it's simple.
No, look, and I'm not giving Rob Manfred a total pass, because I do think that some of this could have been avoided with some of the things he said. And again, we both agree on they should have punished the players, and the best way to punish the players is to either vacate or put an asterisk by the title. But the players and the Astros did a lot of this to themselves based upon the fact that now you can't really apologize, right? Because your first apology is the one we remember, right? And when and they basically said sorry, not sorry, right? They said, "Baby, I'm sorry, not sorry." Right. That's exactly what they said. They basically did the "Hey, I'm sorry."
Sorry, because they still have the championship.
No, but they're saying, "I'm sorry if you were offended by what I said." Right. They're not saying, "I'm sorry that I offended you." That's what they're doing. None of them have come out and said, "Yes, we use this. Yes, it helped us." The denial that it helped them is comical. As any Major League Baseball player.
Carlos Correa did say it helped us. It gave us an advantage.
But Carlos Correa is the one that said we won it fair and square, and then he goes through, and he's brilliant. He goes through chapter and verse every play that they scored on against the Dodgers, but he fails to mention, like, well, we can't steal signs because there's a runner on second. How'd the guy get on second? And by the way, like, you mean to tell me it didn't help you the entire year to put you in position to win all those games, to have home field in the AL, obviously not in the NL because that was decided by the All-Star game, whatever. So, Correa on one hand said, yeah, it did help. On the other hand, he says we won it fair and square. So those two statements contradict.
You say people are going to get over this in 4 years, and that there needs to be an asterisk on this. There is an asterisk.
The asteroids.
There is not an asterisk on it, but people aren't going to forget. Nobody's forgotten about the Black Sox scandal. Right. Nobody had to vacate a title. There's no precedent in Major League Baseball. This is what Rob Manfred said. There's no precedent for vacating a title. And he goes on precedent as a commissioner. There's a great great responsibility there.
Different times have changed. I don't think he should have just went unprecedented. I get that, but do you don't think it should have been vacated?
No, I'm on the fence about that. I see the argument.
You get punished.
Both ways.
You do something wrong.
But what I'm saying, the reason I'm saying is it doesn't necessarily have to be vacated is because it's there. Everyone sees it as an asterisk. Whether you see an asterisk on Barry Bonds' records or not, everyone sees it as an asterisk. Everyone's going to see the 2017 World Series with an asterisk because there's all this over the World Series trophy.
And you won't be able to. Baseball can't move on from it. This is all we're talking about and all we're going to be talking about. If you just take away the title, now we can move on.
Look, the San Francisco Giants lost in, was it 2000 in the World Series? Like nobody had the Giants won.
They won in 2000.
Which was the year did the Angels win in 2000? Anyway.
2002.
2002, excuse me. So had they won in 2002, no one would go back and say, well, they should have had an asterisk by it. Even if Barry Bonds had an asterisk by his name. I just think we do have a tendency to gloss over and move on if you're right. There's no other asterisk. Mm-hmm. It doesn't exist, right? In college sports, we take down the banners. And again, it's a symbolic gesture. But that's what's missing, as well as some form of suspension for players. And because you didn't do it, what's baseball also famous for? Vigilante justice. And now you're sitting there going like, all right, which one of these guys are going to get plunked by which player? I mean, wait till they play each other.
Yeah. Let's talk to DeMarcus Cousins. According to head coach Frank Vogel, Boogie is on track to be healthy by the playoffs.
And?
Cousins, of course, tore his ACL in August during preseason workouts. Chris, would a healthy Cousins give the Lakers the edge over the Clippers?
No. They still would be the underdog in my view. And look, Boogie was very good in his time, okay? He hasn't played more than 50 games in like 3 years, okay? To think he's going to step in, even if he, forget the chemistry issues that it presents, but even if he were to step in and everybody were to welcome him and he plays great, he hasn't played in very long, so it's going to be an issue. Then I've got a nice two-headed monster at center and a three-headed big man monster with AD, JaVale McGee, and Dwight Howard. How does Boogie affect that? Boogie's going to want the ball. My offense is LeBron and AD. Now I got to get it to Boogie. It's going to take away from AD. Defensively, he's going to be challenged and have issues guarding on the perimeter and things like so. Boogie, what they need from Boogie is to do the little things. They got guys to do the big things. They need somebody to do the little things. Boogie's never done the little things. I don't think it would be a help at all.
I don't even understand why Frank Vogel gave us that thought that he might play in the playoffs, right?
Right.
It's not just the ACL tear. Before that, he had an Achilles tendon tear. He's not the same guy. Mm-hmm. And if we saw him last year in the playoffs, yeah, he can still get you buckets. And again, that was a year ago before he hurt his knee. But he can't guard anybody. And this team's built upon defense. What they need, if they added an additional big man, would be a stretch five. Somebody who can keep the floor open and hit that corner three-point shot. Or they already have rim protection in JaVale McGee and in Dwight Howard. So and in Anthony Davis. I don't even understand why they didn't make a trade and use his roster spot and cut him. I know there's some salary cap implications with it, but I don't. No disrespect to Boogie Cousins, who by all accounts has kind of figured out life a little bit since leaving Sacramento. But I don't understand why we think he'd be a useful asset, considering the league has gone so guard heavy. They already have big guys, and he can't guard anybody, and he's barely played in the last 2 years. Outside of that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the show?
Well, goodness, you guys both kind of down on this one. All right, so do you think he said it, just put it out there to kind of deke some other teams?
I think, like Doug said, I think he just was being honest. Yep. I mean, Frank Vogel's a great guy. He's an honest guy. And I think he was just giving his honest answer, not thinking about what it might mean, the ramifications and things like that. But look, believe me, Lakers opponents, and again, Boogie was great. He was a legitimate four-time All-Star.
Really good.
He was 25 points.
Really good.
Well, yeah, I mean,
wasn't great.
Yeah, I don't mean
he was only scoring on bad teams with bad chemistry. Let's.
Great, right? I didn't mean he's a Hall of Famer or anything like that. But he was a numbers guy, and he was a legitimate All-Star. But they don't need Boogie. They really don't. And look, opponents of the Lakers are hoping they put Boogie out there, because that gives you something to attack. Boogie likes to shoot the three. You mentioned stretch five. I mean, he doesn't shoot it particularly well. He's okay. But he took 6 a game in New Orleans.
Right.
And that's as many as Klay Thompson. Right. So he's going to take some bad threes.
I would have to guess, and this is just a guess. One of the underrated things about the Lakers is there has been zero drama.
Right.
Zero drama. And it's not for lack of drama. I mean, they had a little bit with Kyle Kuzma's trainer, on social media. But they squashed that pretty good, right? Since the Ball family's out of town, there's no drama, right? Magic Johnson, there's no leaks.
And a lot of these guys have been drama guys in the past. LeBron,
Rondo,
Howard, Rondo.
I mean, you go through it. So I can only guess that Frank's putting it out there so that he has a positive force in Boogie as he's sitting there. He's with the team. He's traveling with the team. He's working out, putting that carrot out there. Hey, he's going to play for us in the playoffs. And then when he doesn't play in the playoffs, he'll handle that then, with the use of, remember, you're putting Jason Kidd on the staff. He's going to backstab Frank Vogel. Nothing. Great chemistry. So you'd have to think that Frank wouldn't put that out there unless he had some idea of how it would play in the locker room and how it would help things for the second half of the season.
And I think the players genuinely like Boogie. As you said, he's, I've dealt with him a little bit. I think he's a fine guy,
he's not a
with the players and stuff like that. So I think they like him and in theory would like to see him out there. So this does bring more positive vibes to the locker room.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's going to help much on the court.
All right. Well, chemistry is important as you head to the playoffs. We're going to play in or out.
Great guy.
Starting with Tom Brady, the Raiders reportedly planning to offer the QB a 2-year, $60 million deal. So, Broussard, are you in or out on the Raiders being Super Bowl contenders with Tom Brady under center?
I'm out. Super Bowl contender, playoff contender. Mm-hmm. Not saying they definitely make it. I'm in on that. But Super Bowl contender, no. Look, they need receivers, but like you said, maybe they'll get that help in the draft. The defense gave up 26 points a game. That was the bottom 10 in the league. Pass defense was poor. They got a lot of more work to do other than just getting a quarterback.
Yes, but I think I'm in, and I'll tell you why. On Super Bowl contenders. Okay. If Brady goes to the Raiders, again, this is the scenario, right? That means he doesn't go to the Chargers. I have questions about the Chargers and can they re-sign Hunter Henry? Can they get who's going to be their quarterbacks? I mean, Tyrod Taylor? I don't think Denver's there. Obviously, Kansas City's great, but there is a Super Bowl hangover possibility. I look around the AFC and I tell them who else is there. And you think about Gruden, he's done this before. And by the way, 2 years ago, he trades away his best player, gets 2 first-round picks, and people think he's crazy. Mm-hmm. Then he trades away Amari Cooper and gets a first-round pick, and people think he's crazy. Now you go, but if he had a Tom Brady to go along with Jacobs, to go along with some of the other talent, maybe they'll have a great home field advantage.
Not me. You go.
I like the idea. I think it does work.
It is intriguing.
So winning the division?
How about this idea?
Wild card, obviously.
Contenders.
Antonio Brown saying he plans to meet with teams at the NFL Combine in order to make his comeback to the league. Doug, are you in or out on AB being a top 3 wide receiver next season if, and this is a big if, he returns?
I'm out. We're actually, there should be a sign on the wall at the NFL headquarters, how many days without an Antonio Brown incident?
Right.
I think we're at 14 days, which is amazing. People forget, he still has to be cleared by the commissioner. And the off the field stuff is legit and concerning, and it's in an area now that no one wants in their locker room. In addition to the fact that you just don't know what you're getting. He wasn't honest with the Raiders in terms not just of the foot problem, but of some of the off the field issues. Right. And then when he goes to the Patriots, clearly he didn't tell them about these other lawsuits that were coming. That doesn't make anybody happy. I don't think he plays next year. I'm not sure he plays again. He appears to be a complete personal train wreck who's now saying all kinds of things, whatever it takes to get back in the league. I don't think you can be a top 3 wide receiver if you're not on a team.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm out on this. Now, look, if I'm being optimistic, I'm looking at AB's last 2 weeks. You're right, because 2 weeks for him is a long time. I mean, 2 days is a long time not to backtrack some of his apologies. So at best case scenario, I'm saying finally, he has seen this stuff is catching up with me. Hopefully he's woke up. Now, I think he needs to see some people and talk to some people and things like that. But I'm with you, Doug. He may never even play in the NFL again. And even if he does get on the team, look, why did he mess it up in Oakland? All he had to do was play and get his $30 million. Why did he mess it up in New England? He couldn't even stay, a couple weeks? Then you criticize.
It was messed up before he got to New England.
But he couldn't stay off social media. He DMs reporters to try and investigate a woman who he had a relationship with.
If he gets in, I'm not convinced he'll be able to stay in.
Too much baggage there, so let's talk hoops. Team LeBron took down Team Giannis in the NBA All-Star Game last night. The new format led to an intense finish. Doug, are you in or out on the new All-Star Game format?
In. I like it. I mean, do I think we always have to have an Elam ending, or we can't come up with another name for the Elam ending?
Right.
You know,
a new name might be nice.
Sure,
Chris Paul ending.
But I'm in. They competed. It felt like it did matter to them in the fourth quarter. It's an All-Star game, which we watch less and less of the Major League Baseball All-Star game. Nobody can stand the Pro Bowl yet. Somehow, there are people that actually watch. A ton of people that watch the Pro Bowl. I don't get it, and even bet on it. Last night was probably the best watch of any All-Star game in a long time. It got my attention, and I'm a basketball guy who hates the All-Star game, so I'm in on it.
I am totally in. I'm so in that I wouldn't mind if the NBA and I don't think the NBA needs changes, but I wouldn't be mad if they considered bringing this format, not so much the Elam ending, although that was nice, but the format of you win a quarter, you get something for it. So maybe if you win a quarter, you get an extra point at the end of the game or something like that. Like, I thought it was great because if a game's a blowout early, especially in this three-point shooting era, instead of it remaining a blowout, if I can win the quarter, almost get new life and start all over by winning a quarter, now it can remain competitive throughout the game. So I think maybe it's something they should even look at considering for the regular season, way down the line. But that's how much I'm in on it.
Let's not go crazy on the regular season. It's like we're watching the XFL. We're like, ooh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm not saying for sure, but
right, you can
put in the
try
back
some
burner.
things, and part of the quarter thing does make sense to me but the other side to it is when you rest your star players, knowing that how much do you want to extend them just to simply win a quarter, and it's been used in the CBA, which used to be the NBA's minor league, in terms of the standings, help you in the standings based upon numbers of quarters won. But just for the All-Star game, I like it. It's quirky, a little bit different, wasn't perfect. Officiating left a little bit to be desired, but it worked for me.
I like the skills competitions. We're going to rewind to Saturday's dunk contest. Miami Heat star Derrick Jones Jr. took home the trophy. Many believe that Aaron Gordon should have won. So, Chris, are you in or out on Jones winning over Gordon?
Look, again, I don't want to take anything from Derrick Jones. Clearly, he's got the between the legs thing down. He's a tremendous dunker. One of the best we've ever seen in the contest. But yes, Aaron Gordon should have won. Just if you look at, they gave him Jones a 48 on his last dunk because it was a windmill from maybe a little beyond the dotted line. It wasn't from the free throw line. So they gave him a 48. Gordon should have got a 50 or at least a 49 on his last dunk. So just from that, he should have won. But I thought he did the best dunks.
Just bringing out Taco?
Bringing out Taco, how can that not be a 50?
There's two parts to it.
Even if he pushed his head down, he's 7'5".
There's two parts to it, okay? So the Daytona 500 hasn't been run. It's going to be run a little later today on Fox, right? Because of the rain.
Rain, yeah.
This is a little bit like the Daytona 500 where just because you lead the whole race, doesn't mean that, if there's a crash with a couple laps to go, you get passed. You get points for the cup standings, but you don't actually get checkers, right? That's a little bit of what happened here.
You thought he crashed on the Taco dunk?
No, but it was okay.
I see no wreckage.
Taco might need a massage.
It was good. We're kind of over the jumping over guys and using them to propel them. I get it. Taco Fall is legit 7'12".
Right. He didn't push off on the shoulder or anything like that.
Both of them are crazy, crazy dunks. I just love the idea. The judges admitted that they colluded and somebody screwed it up. Like, all right, I'm going to give it 9.
It was nothing against my man D Wade, but a little home cooking for his boy Derrick Jones. Played with him last year in Miami.
You think he's all like, oh yeah?
I'm not going to accuse D Wade.
It's like a movie. It's like we used to have this. Remember when people watch Survivor? Right? Survivor, or there's also Bachelor in Paradise, where they all like, okay, we're all going to do this. And then one is like, right, forget that, do his own thing. That's what Dwayne Wade did.
Are you in or out, though? Who should have won?
I thought Derek Jones should have won. I thought he was I think part of the Aaron Gordon thing is he should have won his last one as well.
Right. He is an awesome dunk. Next year, Derek Jones, Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon, Zion Williamson, John Morant.
I think Aaron Gordon's done with dunk contest.
I know.
Chris has signed you guys up.
Come on, Aaron.
Bryant, another lefty. So we have back-to-back lefties.
Do it for the fans. All right, on to the NFL. Some news surrounding Tom Brady. According to a report, the Raiders are prepared to offer Brady a 2-year deal worth $60 million. Doug, can you see this happening?
I can, and I'll tell you why. People forget Michael Jordan, and Tom Brady by some is considered the Michael Jordan of football. Number of championships are equal as well. He's searching for that 7th championship. Michael Jordan, people forget, was classically underpaid for most of his career with
Never
Chicago
was the
Bulls.
highest paid player till the end.
Right. How much did he make the last 2 years?
30 and 33.
And Tom Brady is at 60 per this offer. I'm just saying there's a little
karma or something going on.
There's a little bit like the number has been 30, right?
Yeah.
Why has the number been 30? Because I think he understands the symbolic nature of it. Could I see it happening? Yeah, Vegas makes sense to me. Look, I love Nash Vegas, and Nashville's, I think, the fastest growing state in the United States. There's no state income tax, and there's lots of great things to it. I just can't see him playing with Giselle. We're going to go to Nashville. Like, I can't, Tampa Bay, can't see it. I know they host the Super Bowl next year, can't see it. He's not going to Indy. That's Peyton Manning's team, right? That's not his. He can't go play for Indy. So what's the other options?
Chargers?
The Chargers? I'm the only Charger fan like the history of sports television, national sports radio. And they're like 7th in terms of popularity in Southern California.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, legit.
The fact that you're still a Chargers fan after the move
Brady?
They're not going to. They're never going to. They're never going to surpass the Raiders. No. The Raiders are the most popular team in LA. The Rams are like 5th. Okay, they're never going to surpass the Raiders. They're never going to surpass the Cowboys, who train out there. They're not going to surpass the Steelers, who are much more popular. You have so many transplants. Probably not going to surpass even the Niners, who are popular in Southern California because they were successful. And then you got the Rams. They're not the Lakers, not the Dodgers. I don't see it. You go to Vegas. Vegas is a place where people at the end of their career, Elton John does shows there. Jerry Seinfeld, I'll go play a week of shows at Caesars. Like, that feels like the type of move and the type of place where he and Giselle could go and put their flag in the ground and spread the idea of TB12, which is rejuvenation, right? And rejuvenation, the desert air with TB12, it does actually make sense to me.
You make a nice little argument. None of that had anything to do with football, but I mean,
it's John Gruden, who loves
an older guy does
I
fit
love that
Vegas.
guy. I want to
You're
coach
right.
that guy.
That's where you go when you're doing your older shows. But he's not singing. He's not telling jokes. He's playing football. And I do think a lot of those other places are better football-wise for him. I do think the Chargers will be a better fit football-wise. You know, this year they were bad. But last year, they were good. You know, or 2 years ago, they were a very good team, and they've got the receivers. They'll have the running backs. They've got the skilled players.
They're low. You got Mike Williams and Keenan Allen,
right,
and possibly Melvin Gordon back. You know,
and even if Gordon's not back, Eckler, you got some good running backs.
And then their defense is loaded.
Ready.
You didn't have Derwin James most of last year. I understand all of that. But Shane Steichen got the job as offensive coordinator mid-season last year. He'd never called plays. Tom Brady doesn't want to walk into a room and say, all right, what do you got? What's your style? Let's blend together. And Shane Steichen's
Maybe he wants to walk in the room and tell them what he's got.
Or does he want to work with John Gruden, who's always wanted to work with him? They're both seen as football guys and football savants. Look, I just don't think he wants to go into a room full of guys that are unproven, as opposed to going in a room with John Gruden, who's won a Super Bowl, who's widely viewed as a great football mind, and put their brains together and create the best new offense the Raiders can have.
Well, everyone's saying, can Brady handle Gruden's personality? I agree with you in that, there's talk that Gruden's already toned it down with Derek Carr. I do think he toned it down even more with Tom Brady. So I think Gruden and Brady would be a fine fit. I just think there are other teams that are better equipped to win right away if you have Tom Brady. And look, like I said earlier, I think with the Raiders, okay, if they draft a receiver, maybe that, because you mentioned Jared Judy earlier, and he's nice, so if they draft a receiver, maybe they'll have a receiving core. But right now on paper, they don't have the receivers that are even better than what he had in New England. You had the tight end Darren Waller. Is he really that good, or was he just the guy they needed to throw the ball to because their receivers couldn't get open or weren't that good? You got the running back.
Josh Jacobs.
You got the nice running back, but defensively they gave up 26 points a game. They got, their pass defense was horrible. So they're not like you mentioned the Chargers and I think Tampa Bay. Indy, I agree with you. That's Peyton Manning's team. However, if he goes to Indy with Frank Reich, that would be, you talk about a nice tandem.
Yes, but a guy he's never worked with before. Frank Reich makes sense for Phillip Rivers because they used to work together in San Diego.
I don't think Rivers has as much left. Did Brady work with Gruden?
No. Again, I think it's hard.
I would rather go to Reich than Gruden. If I'm a quarterback, I'd rather work with Reich.
Because
I know Gruden had the show. Well, and Reich's worked with so many great quarterbacks.
I understand, but I would say that Gruden is seen as a football savant, as a guy who would work. Look, the thing that Gruden was able to do, which I thought was brilliant during his 10 years as a broadcaster, is he's able to go and see what everyone does and take pieces from it and put it all together. And I'm sure he's always thought, if I ever had a brain like a Tom Brady as my quarterback, right? And now maybe he can. You know what the sale is. The sale is, hey, Tom, listen, tell us what wide receivers you want. We'll make it happen cap-wise. We got plenty of equity with all of our first-round picks for youth. Get a young defense. We fixed our offensive line last year. You got Josh Jacobs in the running game. You got Waller. We'll get some of your old compadres, and let's roll. I don't know if Brady's ready to do it, but I do think this is legit leverage to put pressure on the Patriots.
Yeah, I think the Patriots is a better play, but, we'll see if they
Don't you think the Chargers need Brady more than the Raiders for all the reasons you said that the Chargers
need
in California?
They need him to put butts in the seats.
Right.
I don't think, truth be told, they actually need him. I think they think Tyrod Taylor and then draft one of the quarterbacks has been their plan all along. The problem with the Chargers, they played 16 road games the past 3 years, and the organization's just beaten up by it because you never get the boost of a home field advantage.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern.